investigate journalism here, right? Through the journalism reports on the issues which are not given some of the attention. And also, reporters, they will investigate how the policies are being put into effect and how it can report to the public here. So, the parliament and the power legislative reporting here, we will see. This parliament is composed of President of India. Okay, then there is Lok Sabha, which is the House of the People, and there is Rajya Sabha, which is the Council of the States here. So we see the parliamentary reporter here, and whatever the discussions and the debates that are taken place in the parliament, those are been reported by the beat reporters here. So this is one of the type of parliamentary reporting here. So you are giving the information about what is happening, what has been discussed in the parliament here. So where you see the reporter in the parliament here, he has to require the report on each sitting. So parliamentary sessions that goes into a session wise program, right? So it has to take the report of each sitting of the parliament here, and he has to record each and every point which has been mentioned in the parliament here. Okay. So the reporter, he has to make a final report on what he has observed, and it has to present to the general public, and where that the reporter should not be biased here. Okay, so there should be no manipulation or twisting of the news here. So you see, in the parliament, there are basically of three seasons. One is budget season, monsoon season, and the winter season. So in all these seasons, he has to cover each and every part of the meetings that has been taken place here. He has to cover every report. He has to make a record of it. Okay, then he has to make it available to the public without any manipulations here. Okay, then there is legislature reporting, which is one of the essential part of mass media functions. Whereas you see this parliament or the state legislature, which is the Vidhan Sabha and the Vidhan Parishad, which is called as legislature here. So this task here, it involves the multi-functions reporting day-to-day procedures of these legislative bodies here. Okay. So beside this job also, what it will include the writing for the media and about the several other features which are been made to the parliamentary proceedings here. Okay. So, in the parliamentary democracy, we see so the parliament reporting, it will see that the supreme reason, okay, the supreme significance for a reasons, it will not be difficult to enumerate here. Okay, so the exact course of the prime minister and the senior cabinet ministers, they will give credibility to the news reports here. And also, you see, for some security reasons, not everything can be showed. So for security reasons, there are tape recorders. Those have been banned in the press gallery here. So then there is contempt of the house. So in the contempt of the house, the publication has to be done with the animosity. Okay. So protection here can be seen by the journalist by Article 361A. Here it will not apply. So the publication of the a portion of the proceeding of the house in breach of its privilege here, that is exculpatory. Okay. So, the custodian of its own privilege and the house is empowered to take whatever the action against the correspondent, and if whatever the conduct of his or her writings are there are in the breach of its privileges here. Okay. So then there is Parliamentary Proceedings Protection of Publication Act here. So in the last decades of 20th century, we see there is a significant change in the field of this information and communication technology. And accordingly, you see the reporting of this political or the legislative events has been through both the print and electronic media, and also we see day-to-day news, every minute news that we can see in our mobile phones as well. So that has gone a very metamorphic change here. And you see there is a publication of parliamentary proceedings here. Sorry. So as there is absolute immunity for the proceedings in any of the court of law that comes under the constitution, to the House of Parliament, if the publication is made by any under the authority of the House under the Article 105(2) of Constitution in respect of Parliament and Article 194(2) in the case of state proceedings in newspapers. So whether that is published by the member of the House or by any other person, unless you see the publication is expressly authorized by either of the house here. Okay. Then there is Article 361A under here. So it will shows that no person is liable for any proceedings, civil or criminal here, any of the court in respect of the publication in a newspaper that we see. Okay. So then there are two limitations on the publications of the proceedings as well. Next, we will see the reporting elections. How they will report the elections here. Reporting elections is nothing but how the from the start to the end of the election activity is being reported here. So we see every adult who is either above or at the age of 18 years has the right to cast his vote here. He can exercise his right to vote, right? So you see, elections are the heart and soul of the Indian democratic system that we see. So the Representation of People's Act 1951, it is an act of Parliament of India. It provides to conduct the elections of the houses of the Parliament here. So what are the houses? Legislature and the executive. Okay. To the both of the houses, which is the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha here. So and also it has few qualifications, disqualifications, membership, and also it will keep an eye on the corrupt practices, right? So we see the Article 327 of Indian Constitution. It is been endorsed by the Provisional Parliament here. Okay, so where we see this Parliament, it was established under the India's independence and elected Constitution Assembly was set up to develop the Constitution, and after that, we see the People's Representation of People's Act 1950, which is called as RPA Act. It deals with the qualification of the voters, preparation of electoral rolls, delimitation of the constituencies, allocation of the seats in the parliament and the state legislatures here. Okay. So main features, if we see, the part 21 of the Indian Constitution talks about there are few provisional parliament here and where it has been enacted through the representation of People's Act 1951 so that it can conduct the general elections here. So there is a citation in the article number 43 of 1951. Okay. And there are correct practices are also mentioned in the section 123. So here the election means an election to fill a seat or seats in the either of the houses. Those are there in the parliament here. Okay. So now what is election commission? So this election commission is been prescribed by the Constitution of India here. So it is an federal authority which is responsible for conducting the electoral process of India and it will ensure that there are free and fair elections to be held here. Okay. Okay. So from 1947 to October 16, 1989, there was one chief election commissioner. So from 1989 to 1st January 1990, there were two commissioners that we see. And the type of elections we see in the Republic of India that includes the members of parliament in the Lok Sabha, state legislative assembly, parliament in Rajya Sabha, and for the members in the local panchayat or city corporation councils here. Okay. Then there are general elections. General elections that we every time we vote for every 5 years, which is for the Lok Sabha here. And then there is Rajya Sabha, which is the election for the upper house, which is also known as the Council of State here, and where the members of the legislative assemblies up to 12 can nominate by the President of India here. Okay. So the legislative proposals, these are brought before the either of the parliament in the form of a bill here. Okay. The Constitution of India, it will place some restrictions on the Rajya Sabha, which will make this Lok Sabha very much powerful in certain cases here. Okay. So then there are state assembly, which is the Vidhan Sabha elections here, which are again casted by the people, the vote here. This is where there is a set of candidates, they will contest in the representative constituencies. So every adult citizen, they can cast their vote here into their constituencies. So we stay in one constituency, there will be a representative for us who will be nominated and there we will select who is better, we will see and we will cast the vote, right? So he is where it is one who is the uh, it is the candidate who will win the state legislative assembly elections, who is called as the member of legislative assembly. In short, we call it as MLA. Okay. So the strength of an assembly depends upon the each state. Every state's assembly differs here. The seats of the state, the any of the state here, it depends. Okay, mostly it based upon the size of the state, the population of the state. Okay, that is what there are differences here. So what is the election procedure? So there will be a formation of constituency first. Okay, they will form the constituencies. So in 42nd Amendment Act 1976, it has provided that the first census after the year 2000 has been published, it should not make necessary readjust to allocate the seats of the states in the Lok Sabha here. And next procedure is the filing of the nomination. First, you have to file yourself that you will participate in the elections. You have to file yourself, and person should not be less than 30 years of age here. He can participate in the election procedure here. Then there is scrutiny of the nomination. After you are filing your nomination here, so whoever has attained an age of 25 years, he might be disqualified or he might be qualified for the position here, depending on the qualifications here. Okay. So then and then there is scrutiny. In the scrutiny of the nominations, as you have been nominated yourself, these papers will be examined very carefully. Okay, if someone have in the papers that you have provided, if that provided papers will show you that you have been dissatisfied, then you are disqualified from the nominations here. Okay. Then there is election campaign. Once you are nominated, once the scrutiny is done, then the next process is the election campaign. You will release the manifesto stating that you will provide this, that, and where that is a formal statement of a program and the objectives of a political party here. Okay. Then there is electioneering, which means that the parties and the candidates that will make use of lot of techniques so that they will carry out whatever they want to say into the public. How the public is accepting, how they are so much mesmerized to take that objectives, how very creatively they are taking the objectives is what we can see. They use the different techniques so that they will make it aware to the people about their policies, about their objectives here. Okay. Next procedure is the polling personnel and the polling here, which means the election campaign has to be stopped before the 48 hours uh, when the election starts here. Okay. Then there is counting of votes. Once you are done with the elections, once you are done with the electing the candidate, after a few days, the ballot boxes or the voting machines, those are been sealed and carried under the custody here. So where they will count the majority of the votes, and then they will declare the results on the majority here. Then there is submission of the account relation to the expenses, and then there is election disputes here. Okay, this comes under the election tribunals for the deciding of the disputes which are arised in the connection with the elections here. Now, how you are reporting the election campaigns here? Here you will see through voting, people will raise their voices, will raise their opinions, they'll express their hopes, aspirations about their leaders, how are they controlling the nation and all. Okay, so in the democratic thing, you see these elections are a public source of power here. Okay, so to run the office, they have to state their position very thoroughly here. Okay, so the role here it is where the media's major challenge is. So all the important news has to be, all news is important in concerning with the elections here. So it has to be whatever the campaigning that every party is doing, it has to be covered here so that it could be available to the public so that they can decide their vote here. So one is with the election monitoring, and where in this the information has been gathered, they will find facts here on reporting on the credibility, the legitimacy, and the transparency. You should not be biased. Transparency means it is not been biased here. Then there is media access to voting centers. Okay, how the media can make a role as a watchdog here. It can provide first-hand accounts into their reporting here. Okay, in the reporting, counting, and the results, you see it is the climax. It is the ending of the election here, and where you see every people are been waiting for that news. Okay, everyone will be waiting now. Who will be elected here? So that has to be uh, to be shown as a reporting counting here. Okay. Then there is ethics in election reporting. So he in the most difficult ethical dilemmas. Okay, some of the most ethical dilemmas in the media, it involve people. Very often you see the politicians' privacy. Okay, so ethical dilemmas, it is oftenly, particularly in the political reporting that we see in the time of elections only, where the political opponents, they will try to see the credibility of their opponents. So what they will do with their media only, they'll start criticizing, they'll not leave one any of the chance. They'll try to manipulate their opponents here. Okay. So then there are few guidelines given to the media on the election reporting under few articles. So, what are the responsibilities of the journalist in the reporting of the media political reporting is he where every journalist, if he has to cover the election, which is a big and personal professional responsibility, so that he should act here professionally. Okay. So some will want to buy journalist services, they'll pay for the coverages and where, but as a journalist, you have to act as a independent of the politicians and cannot be paid in any of the election procedures. Okay. And that will compromise what if you are getting that payment, that is compromising your credibility as a journalist and a professionalism here. Okay. So next chapter is the legal and ethical aspects of political reporting here. So within the freedom of press, which we can see in the Article 19(1) of the Indian Constitution, talks about the freedom of speech here. It says that all the citizens, they have the right for freedom of speech and expression, freedom to peacefully assemble and without arms, to form associations or unions, to move freely throughout the territory of India, yeah, to reside and settle in any part of the territory of the India, okay, to practice any profession, or they can carry any occupation, trade, or business here. Okay. So we see these are being said in the Article 19(1) of our Constitution here, which is a fundamental right to every citizen. Okay. So through this freedom of speech and expression, which has been guaranteed by the Constitution here, state can make laws to impose what reasonable restrictions. Okay, so where it has to be seen that the press under this Article 19(1)(a), that freedom on the one side and the freedom can be restricted under the Article 19(2). So it is where if you talk about he has been restricting the freedom, you should see that the Article 19(2), it is lawfully, legally restricting few activities here. Okay. So the Press Council of India Act, it was established on November 16th, 1966, which is a official Indian watchdog on the media ethics. Okay, which has been guided by the principle of democratic society. The press needs to be free and responsible. Yes, though we see it was abolished during the emergency and later it has been revived in the year 1978 with new Press Council Act here. Okay, so the statutory body here you see it is a quasi, which means half judicial body here. Okay, it has to preserve the freedom of press and maintain the improve the standards of the newspaper and the news agencies in India. The chairman and members, if we see, it is headed by the chairman. The press council is headed by the chairman. The council consists of 28 other members. So in that 28, 20 represent the press and are nominated by the press organizations or the news agencies. Okay. And 5 members are been nominated from 2 houses of the parliament and 3 will represent the cultural fields. Okay. And then there is power of censure. In the in the journalist as per section 14A of the Press Council Act, the any breach of code of journalist ethics or any offense against the public taste, the Press Council could warn, abandon, or censure a newspaper. Okay. So then the code of ethics for media. Ethics is derived from the Greek word ethos, which means the character of a person that will show his or her personality, whether it is good, whether it is bad here. Okay. So now what is media ethics here? That means where that is Media is a subdivision of the applied ethics, which is dealing with few of the principles, specified principles, and also with the standards of the media, which will include the print media, the broadcast media, the internet. From all the sources only, we are getting the information. So the key function here of the media is to serve the society with the news, with the views, with the comments on the news here. Okay. Then there is um, self-regulation. So the committee of the petition of Rajya Sabha under the chairmanship of Venkaiah Naidu has prepared its 132nd report on the petition regarding the misuse of right to freedom of speech and expression by the print and electronic media that has to restrict under Article 19(2) of the Constitution here. Okay. So there are six core principles of political journalist. What are those? Truth and accuracy, independence, fairness and impartiality, accountability, objectivity, facts and sacred. Comment is free here. Okay, facts are sacred. You have to collect those facts. With that facts only people will believe whether the news is correct or not. Okay. So then there are principles of self-regulation. So this NBA has been established as a commonly accepted content here. Okay, where the purpose of these principles of self-regulation is to serve as affirmative declaration of understanding, compliance with the basic values and objectives through the news channels. Okay. So there are few areas where the broadcasters have to seek regulate is impartiality and the objectivity in reporting and the ensuring the neutrality. Okay. Next is reporting on crime and safeguards to ensure crime and violence are not glorified here. Okay. Um, and another is the depiction of the violence or intimidation against the women and the children here. Okay. Then there is privacy, and then there is endangering national security. So this will represent the India's strategic interest here. Okay. So then reframing, being away, restricting from advocating, which means supporting or encouraging the superstition and the occultism. Okay. Then there is sting operation, which is a guiding principle. Sting and undercover operation should be last resort of the news channel. Okay. Then there is corrigible, which means all the channels will keeping with the principle of accuracy and the impartiality here. And then there is viewers feedback. So we'll now see what is paid news. This is a paid content for those articles in the newspapers, for the magazines and the electronic media that we see. And where this practice started from the 1950s and it has been widespread towards the organized activity in India through the private treaties that we see. Okay, so this widespread paid news practice in India has been criticized because it diverts the coverage. Whoever is willing to pay, and they will selectively what they will do, they will only when if he has received that payment, he will only show what he is wanting. Okay, so selectively they will present information to favor the payee here. Then there is RTI, Right to Information Act 2005, which provides a practical mechanism to the right to information here. Okay. So now what is right to information? Which right to information is what? It is nothing but where there is an inspection of the records of work documents and records, taking notes, extracts or certified copies of the documents or the records received, taking certified samples of the material. Okay. Then there are few obligations of public authorities by Section 4(1) here, and then there is disposal of recused for the request for the information in the RTI, and there is information commissions that we see. Then there is first appeal, where if a person who is not receiving any decision on a request of the information, he can appeal the designated appellate authority, who is a senior rank to the public information officer here. So within 30 days of the appeal here, the period should not exceed the 45 days. He should get that information. Then there is second appeal if he is not getting that information within 45 days, he can go against the appellate officer within the 90 days from the date on which the decision should has to be made here. Okay. Then there are penalties. So now what are penalties here? If Information Commission is of that opinion that the public information officer has not, without any reasonable cause, refused to receive an application. Okay. So knowingly specified, given incorrect or incomplete or misleading information, the commission has to impose a penalty of 250 each day till the application is received or the information is furnished here. Okay. So we have seen these six core principles of the political journalist, which is the truth, accurate, independence, fairness, and impartiality, accountability, objectivity, facts, and the sacred. Facts are sacred. Comment is free here. So, and also we have learned about the RTI, Right to Information Act 2005. Okay, and which is a landmark legislation. Yeah. So this is what today's class is. Thank you.